Sagittarius, your energy is stirring the air, people feel it, but destiny wants you to shine. Your energy is stirring the air. Sagittarius, have you noticed how the air changes when you enter a room? Conversations shift, glances flicker, and though no one says a word, you can feel it. The atmosphere rearranges itself around you. It isn't your voice, nor your actions, but the invisible fire you carry. People sense it. Some are inspired, others unsettled. And you've wondered quietly, am I too much? Should I soften, shrink, or blend in just to make it easier for others? But here is the truth. What they are sensing is not something strange or wrong. It is the natural fragrance of your spirit, the vibration of your freedom, the spark of your destiny beginning to burn more brightly. Sagittarius is not meant to hide. You are the archer of the zodiac, the seeker, the one who points the arrow of truth toward horizons others are too afraid to look at. Your energy is not meant to soothe everyone. It is meant to awaken, to stir, to call those who are ready to step into a bigger life. Yes, your presence may feel like a gust of wind rattling through a still room, but that is because you are carrying change, movement, expansion. Those who are comfortable with their walls will call it too much. Those who are yearning for freedom will call it exactly what I needed. So stay with me, because in this journey we will uncover why your energy unsettles some, why it is sacred, and why destiny has chosen this very moment to reveal the deeper reason behind your restlessness. And if this message stirs something inside you, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe, so that we may continue walking this path of wisdom and healing together. Gate 1: The Restless Fragrance. Sagittarius, deep inside you there has always been a fire, a flame that refuses to stay hidden. Even when you sit quietly, your energy announces itself like a breeze that shifts the room. Some people feel drawn to it, others flinch without knowing why. This is what I call your restless fragrance. Not a literal scent, but the vibration of truth and freedom that your soul constantly emits. And right now it is growing stronger. You may have noticed the signs. You walk into familiar spaces and suddenly feel like a guest in your own life. A workplace that once felt stable now feels suffocating. A relationship that once gave you comfort now leaves you restless, unsatisfied. Even in groups where you once fit in, you sense yourself quietly drifting away. Not because you've become arrogant or unkind, but because the fire within you is expanding. It's no longer willing to shrink just to soothe others. Psychologically, this is the moment when identity rubs against destiny. Sagittarius energy is wired for expansion, honesty, and movement. But when you hold yourself still for too long, when you try to remain what others expect, you begin to emit a fragrance of discomfort. Others feel it because you no longer mirror their illusions. You remind them of what they've denied in themselves, the longing to be free, to be honest, to live fully. And so, they may turn away, not realizing they are turning from their own reflection. I once knew a Sagittarius woman who worked for years in a job that her family admired. She smiled, she did everything right. But inside she was shrinking. Her laughter felt rehearsed, her dreams locked away. Slowly, colleagues began to sense her difference. Some avoided her, saying she was too intense, too restless. But the truth was simple. Her soul had outgrown the role she was playing. The fragrance of her true spirit was seeping through, and it unsettled those who preferred her to stay small. Sagittarius, your restless fragrance is not a curse. It is a compass. It tells you the chapter is closing, the cage is cracking, the arrow is ready to fly. Yes, it can feel isolating when others withdraw, but understand. They are not rejecting you. They are resisting the change your presence awakens in them. And in that gap, in that strange loneliness, a doorway is opening. Do not shrink. Do not apologize. The restlessness you feel is destiny stirring. The fragrance you emit is the signal that you are no longer content to play a role. You are beginning to live as you were meant to. Expansive, fiery, and free. Gate to the fire of truth. Sagittarius, within you burns a fire that cannot be copied, bottled, or diluted. It is the fire of truth. When you live in alignment with it, you radiate something unmistakable. An energy that both attracts and unsettles. Some call it confidence, others call it defiance, but in reality it is simply authenticity. And authenticity has its own fragrance. Raw, liberating, and impossible to disguise. For much of your life you may have tried to tame this fire. You softened your words so others wouldn't feel burned. You dimmed your curiosity so you wouldn't seem restless. You even carried yourself smaller, believing that if you were gentler, lighter, less intense, others would stay. But Sagittarius, you were never meant to be a flickering candle hidden in the corner. You were born a torchbearer, carrying the flame of exploration and truth. That flame unsettles not because it is wrong, but because it reveals what others have been afraid to see in themselves. Astrologically, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, the planet of wisdom, expansion, and higher vision. Your fire is not destructive. It is illuminating. When you live truthfully, you naturally light the dark corners others prefer to ignore. This is why people sometimes describe you as too honest or too blunt. In truth, you are not harsh, you are clear. And clarity feels like fire to those who are still hiding behind veils. I once met a Sagittarius man who lived many years in silence about his dreams. He stayed in a relationship that demanded stability, predictability, and silence of his deeper longings. For a time he complied. He dimmed his fire to avoid conflict. But eventually, the fire refused to be hidden. His words grew sharper, his energy more vibrant. He spoke truths that had long been buried. And though the relationship ended, what emerged was not loss but liberation. His fire of truth became the very force that guided him into a life of authenticity, travel, and spiritual awakening. This is the paradox of your fire. It may cost you certain relationships, jobs, or roles. But what it gives you is infinitely more valuable. It gives you yourself. When you allow your truth to burn openly, you no longer need validation. You no longer beg for belonging. Instead, you emit a fragrance that calls in those who resonate with your freedom. The wrong ones will step back, yes, but the right ones will step closer, drawn to your warmth like travelers to a fire in the night. Psychologically, this is the moment of individuation, the transition from living according to others' approval to living in full alignment with your essence. For Sagittarius, that essence is freedom, honesty, and expansion. To deny it is to suffocate your soul. To embrace it is to breathe, to shine, to finally live. So do not fear the fire, Sagittarius. It was never meant to consume you. It was meant to guide you, to warm others, and to ignite the path ahead. And the moment you stop apologizing for your flame, the world will finally see you for what you are. A bearer of truth, a seeker of horizons, a light that cannot be extinguished. Gate 3. Why others turn away. Sagittarius, it can wound you deeply when people begin to pull away. When their smiles shift, when the warmth that once felt mutual slowly turns to distance. You may ask yourself, did I say too much? Was I too honest? Too restless? Too alive? And in those questions, doubt creeps in. But hear me clearly. Their turning away is not proof that you are wrong. It is proof that you are real. When your fire of truth burns openly, it does more than illuminate your path. It illuminates others. And for some, that sudden light is unbearable. Many have lived so long in dimness that brightness feels like an intrusion. Your energy doesn't expose their faults. It exposes their longing. It reveals how much of themselves they have denied in order to stay safe. To stand near you is to be reminded of the freedom they abandoned, the dreams they silenced, the adventures they never dared to take. And that reminder can feel like pain. This is why people turn away. Not because you harmed them, but because your very presence awakens a wound they have not yet faced. You are like an open window in a stuffy room. Some breathe deeply and feel alive. Others shut the window because fresh air is too overwhelming after years of stillness. I once knew a Sagittarius woman who radiated joy wherever she went. She was spontaneous, bold, and unafraid to speak the truth others whispered only in private. At first, friends admired her energy, but over time many drifted away, saying she was too intense or too unpredictable. What they truly meant was this. Her freedom revealed the cages they had built around themselves. Her laughter reminded them of their own forgotten desires. She did not abandon them, they abandoned themselves in her presence. Sagittarius, you must remember this. Not everyone is meant to walk beside you. Your path is one of expansion, and expansion naturally shakes loose what no longer resonates. It is not rejection, it is purification. Just as the archer cannot carry every arrow, you cannot carry every person into your next horizon. Some must stay behind not because they dislike you, but because their souls are not ready for the altitude you are climbing to. Psychologically, this is projection at work. Others see in you what they cannot yet accept in themselves. Spiritually, it is energy alignment. Only those vibrating at your frequency will remain close. The rest will fall away. And though this can feel lonely, it is sacred loneliness. It is the clearing of space so the right ones can find you. So when others turn away, do not chase them. Do not dilute your fire just to keep them comfortable. Instead, bless them silently and continue walking. Because for every person who steps back from your light, there is another moving toward it. Someone who sees not a threat but a mirror of their own untapped courage. Sagittarius, your task is not to keep everyone close. Your task is to keep your fire alive. The ones who are meant to journey with you will not be repelled by your flame. They will be warmed by it, guided by it, even transformed by it. Gate for the call of expansion. Sagittarius, if your restless fragrance is the first whisper and your fire of truth the second, then the call of expansion is the third and most powerful. It is not subtle anymore. It is destiny itself knocking at your heart, saying, now is the time to grow. Now is the time to step beyond the walls that once sheltered you. Expansion is your birthright. You are the traveler of the zodiac, the philosopher, the seeker who cannot be content with half-truths or confined spaces. To live small is to suffocate your spirit. And so the universe in its wisdom begins to clear your path, removing the people, roles, and places that can no longer contain your fire. It may hurt at first. You may grieve. But this is how life makes room for what is truly aligned with your soul. When the call of expansion comes, it doesn't always show up as dramatic events. Sometimes it is quiet. A job offer in a city you've never considered. A book that changes how you see the world. A chance meeting that stirs your heart awake. Other times it arrives as endings. The relationship that no longer feels alive. The dream that no longer excites you. The community that cannot accept your growth. Endings are not failures here, they are doorways. And every Sagittarius must learn to walk through them with trust. I once spoke with a Sagittarius artist who had spent years creating safe work. Pieces that pleased audiences but did not move her soul. Eventually, the call of expansion grew too loud. She began painting the vision she had long suppressed. Wild landscapes, fiery colors, images that pulsed with truth. At first, some galleries rejected her. But then came recognition from those who truly saw her brilliance. Her expansion cost her the approval of the crowd, but it gave her authenticity, freedom, and a new tribe who celebrated her fire. Psychologically, this is individuation maturing into purpose. Spiritually, it is Jupiter, the ruler of Sagittarius, expanding your vision so that you no longer walk only for yourself, but also as a light for others. Your expansion is never selfish. When you grow, you create pathways for others to grow. When you speak your truth, you give permission for others to do the same. When you step beyond the walls, you show those still confined that there is more to life than fear. But expansion requires courage. It asks you to say no to the roles that keep you small, to walk away from the people who prefer you muted, to leave behind the comfort of the known. It asks you to trust that your fire will guide you into spaces where you are celebrated, not merely tolerated. And most of all, it asks you to stop apologizing for your hunger for more. That hunger is not a flaw, it is your compass. So Sagittarius, when you hear the call of expansion, and you are hearing it now, do not resist. Do not second guess. Pack your truth like arrows in your quiver. Lift your bow and aim for the horizon. This is the moment your soul has been preparing for. And beyond this threshold lies the life that was always meant for you. Wider, freer, and truer than anything you've known. Conclusion: stepping into your horizon. Sagittarius, you have walked through the restlessness that first stirred your soul. You have felt the fire of truth rise within you. You have watched some people turn away, and you have heard the undeniable call of expansion. Each step has been both a test and a revelation. You are not here to stay small. You are here to grow beyond the boundaries that once defined you. The truth is this: not everyone will understand the fragrance of your freedom, the light of your honesty, or the hunger of your spirit. Some will call you too much. Others will step back when your energy no longer matches theirs. But remember, their retreat is not your failure. It is your liberation. Each departure clears space for those who can meet you at your true frequency. For those who are not intimidated by your fire but inspired by it. Sagittarius, this is your destiny. To live as a seeker, to walk toward horizons others fear. To carry the torch of truth so that those still wandering in the dark might one day see. You are not meant to dilute yourself. You are not meant to apologize for wanting more. You are meant to embody expansion itself. So stand tall now. Lift your gaze to the horizon. Let the bow of your heart release the arrow of your spirit. Trust that where it lands, new life is waiting for you. The journey ahead is not empty. It is filled with promise, with freedom, with the right companions who will recognize your light and walk beside you. And if these words have touched you, if you feel the stirrings of your own destiny calling, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe. Not as a duty, but as a way to keep this circle of wisdom alive, so that whenever your path feels uncertain, you'll remember. You are not alone, and your horizon is already rising to meet you.